Go.
Streaming from South Africa to the world. This is the Stonks Go Moon podcast. What just happened? We break it down so you don't have to.
Welcome everyone to the Stonks Go Moon podcast. Our guest today, Matt Luongo, CEO and founder of Thesis. Welcome to the pod.
Thanks a lot, Rocco. Appreciate you having me.
Matt, what inspired you to start Thesis? The company's been around since 2014. How's your vision changed since starting the company until now? It's a long time. It's like 10 years.
I mean, how's the world changed since 2014, right? So no, look, a lot of what we're doing is the same. So in 2014, we started the company as it was just one. So we're a venture studio today, but before we were just Fold.
Okay.
We focused on people spending Bitcoin, earning Bitcoin rewards. We spun that company out. It's now going public, which I'm quite excited about. I'm on the board.
And we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
But this was way before crypto was even cool, right? I mean, 2014 is like, what was the price of Bitcoin? Sub 1,000?
I hate that I know we can talk a lot about it. Yeah. So when I got involved, it was right when Gox was happening. And so I kind of saw like 1,200 down to like 300 happen. And that's when I was like quietly collecting in despair over the years, praying that Bitcoin would be a thing. Yeah. I mean,
because I'm laughing because I have an excuse. I didn't know about crypto back then, but I'm laughing at everyone who had like a lot of it. And I'm talking a lot of it. And they're sort of the people advocating and educating right now. And I mean, hindsight is 2020, right?
Of course, yeah. I mean, at the time, it's like it felt inevitable, but also, you're doing something pretty risky, And what I loved about 2014 era Bitcoin is that it wasn't cool. Today, people cringe at crypto because they think of like NFT bros and like the last cycle and stuff like that. But you can still tell your family you're working in it. I used to talk to my family about this, and they thought I was insane because, they started consider at least an industry,
Okay, so then did a lot of things, spun the company out. Let's talk about the company that's going to NASDAQ now. What is it?
Yeah, so Fold is a Bitcoin-backed financial services company. So you can think of it like a neobank, but with Bitcoin first.
Okay.
Yeah. So right now it's US only. They're getting ready to go international, so I'm excited for when that happens. But basically, you can take your debit card, you can spend, you can make ACH payments, and you get sats back on all of that. Okay. So that's the core idea of Fold. It's simple, but you can apply it everywhere.
So what makes it different from other neobanks? Okay, you say Bitcoin first, but what does that mean? What does that fundamentally mean?
Yeah. So what that means is the way they like to put it is like your Bitcoin, the checking account for your Bitcoin, I think is one of the phrases I've heard them use. What that really means is you can get all of your paychecks directly to this neobank, have them converted into Bitcoin. You can spend the Bitcoin on the debit card. All of your rewards across the whole thing is in Bitcoin. So it really helps you move as much of your financial life to Bitcoin as possible.
Okay.
One day I hope people will be, taking out mortgages against their Bitcoin rather than against the home they're buying. So that's kind of where we're going with Fold.
So basically, if Kirk Cousins wanted his salary in Bitcoin, he could theoretically deposit it into that account.
Exactly. Yeah. So use Fold as your account, turn on DCA and direct buys, and everything will be in Bitcoin. And then when you spend, you can spend your Bitcoin as well.
Awesome. Talk to me about Meso, if I'm pronouncing that correct, Bitcoin Layer 2 solution. Okay. So how does that sort of just transform the ecosystem that we're in now?
Sure. So a big part of why we spun out Fold, and the reason I'm not the CEO, right?
Yeah.
Is that Fold is addressing this market of people who are thinking about finance and Bitcoin. But I went deeper. So I kept going. And so I went deeper and deeper and deeper. DeFi Summer, we have, we launched TBTC, which is a Bitcoin bridge that has done over $500 million I think it's $1 billion now in transaction volume. So we launched all these other products. And, one of the things that really killed me is I wanted to bring it all back to Bitcoin.
Okay.
So we had Ethereum and Solana and all of these projects atop. Everyone talks about, I mean, I don't want to recap the last 10 years. It sounds like a horror story, right?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of cool stuff as well. And
Mm.
what I've always found missing is that when it's time for people who are now buying into the Bitcoin ETF
Mm.
to go on chain, they're not going to use Ethereum.
No.
And I'm not sure at this point they're going to use Solana, right? That's pretty cutting edge stuff. We want to give people something that's simple, that works as close to their Bitcoin as possible. And really, you shouldn't have to learn about 3,000 other assets.
Yes.
You shouldn't have to download a new wallet. So that's really what Meso is focused on. You know, it happens to be a chain, but we're really looking to build more of a place for Bitcoiners who want to take more of their life on chain.
Okay. How far do you think we've strayed from the original white paper to where we are now? Does Bitcoin still serve that idealism, I guess, of decentralized finance, or has it been hijacked by nefarious influencers and
Both.
sort of lost all, you know what I mean? Lost a lot of the meaning
no,
that
absolutely.
I don't think that's a fair question.
You know what I learned over the years about Bitcoin is it doesn't care what we think. And that's what's so powerful about it. Its emissions don't change because we whinge or because like employment isn't good or whatever, you know. It's not changing based on what humans think. It just keeps running. And but we've changed how we think.
Yes.
We used to think of Bitcoin as a payments layer. And in fact, when I did launch Fold, that's how we thought of Bitcoin. I was kind of taught by the market, no, this is a savings layer. And I was taught that because transaction fees went up. But I was also taught that because people wanted to spend Bitcoin less and less and less. And they wanted to earn it more and more and more. So that's something different.
Obviously,
right?
As the price went up and up and up and up, obviously.
Yeah. And that wasn't Bitcoin changing.
Yeah.
That was us changing how we look at Bitcoin. The network's still just doing its thing. So I guess the way that I look at it is, you know, when I see like Saylor the other day saying self-custody is bad. And of course now he's flip-flop because like that is honestly, why would you, that's not really a defensible position in our community.
It really makes sense.
Obviously, right? So obviously, do I think that's terrible? Yes. But I also think it takes all kinds. And as Bitcoin grows, we're going to get more and more what I would consider fringe or even like antithetical to the space opinions. And it doesn't matter. The network's not going to do anything different. It's money for people who disagree with each other. So I think for us, it's really just been about learning what Bitcoin actually is versus what we all thought it might be.
Okay.
And then for some of the work that I'm doing in DeFi and to extend Bitcoin, it's really about making that money more useful everywhere. So I do think that eventually we are going to do all of the cross-border payment things that we all said way back in 2014 and 2015. But we got the order wrong. We thought payments first. No, it's actually savings first and censorship resistant first. And then collateral. Okay, you want to buy a home, you want to buy stocks, you want to lever up on your Bitcoin. Earning, you want to earn yield on your Bitcoin. And then, you know, at the end of the day, you go through this whole stable coin arc. And then you're back to Bitcoin as a medium of exchange. So that's kind of how I think this is going. We were just a little too excited in 2015 and went in the wrong order.
You're a strong advocate for user-owned wallets. We talked about the flip-flopping. So how do you kind of address the inefficiencies of today's wallets? There are so many chains, so many like this chain doesn't speak to that chain. Like, how do we get it? How do we sort out that mess?
So the funny thing about how we got here with all this fragmentation, if you think about like, why does Bitcoin exist? It was kind of like the money to end money, right?
Yeah.
So then you look at why does crypto exist? Why does the rest of the space exist? And it's because a bunch of people wanted to build things, but they wanted their own money. They wanted their own capital formation. They wanted
outside
to,
of
right?
the system, outside of
that's
the system.
right. So right. And so they didn't want to build it on Bitcoin. And we can say, oh, it's because of the tech. It's not really because of the tech. It's because people wanted to form capital and they wanted to form different governance structures. So I don't know that that's going to go away. Yeah. Right. What I do know is that if you compare the amount of Bitcoin, like the dollar worth of Bitcoin that people have relative to the dollar worth of any of these other currencies, we're going to have a reset because as people start bringing their Bitcoin on chain, they won't care what wallet you're using on Ethereum or Solana. That's kind of a detail.
What do you mean we're going to have what? Yeah, no. What do you mean we're going to have a reset? So just clarify that. Yeah.
So here's what I mean. So in the past, there's this, I'm like a multi-cycle crypto person, and there's all these like little bits of wisdom. Well, if Bitcoin goes up, then later altcoins will go up, and they call it alt season. And there's this whole jargon, right? And what we're seeing is it's not true, and it rhymes, but it's not true. This time, we have an ETF. When money flows into the space, a lot of it flows in there. That's not going to trickle down to the next 10, 20 projects, right?
Okay.
So that's one, is I think that there's been a market restructure. And so now it's like, okay, when I look at people who use chains, you have a lot of crypto native folks who use Ethereum and Solana. And then you have Bitcoin folks who are using, Bitcoin for savings.
Yes.
So I expect these two groups are going to come together. But I don't expect the group with all of the money and all of the reputation is going to use the tools of these sort of like smaller groups on Ethereum and Solana. Why would you?
Why?
And so in this, right? And so in the same way that there's a reset because the ETF has changed market structure, I'm expecting that instead of us trying to convince, our grandparents of like downloading MetaMask and here's a seed phrase, I think what happens instead, someone's already been convinced they hold Bitcoin in ETF or they hold it on Coinbase, and then we convince them to come on chain. And I think that that's an opportunity for an entirely new wallet and self-custody experience.
Oh, interesting. Okay, last thing before I let you go, talk to me about your BitcoinFi Accelerator. What does it do? Where can people find out more? Where can they join? What it's about?
Sure. So we were talking about fragmentation.
Yes.
And because of that, there's been a ton of brain drain from Bitcoin to Ethereum, Solana, et cetera, et cetera. And so the hypothesis here was, we're pretty sure that there are a bunch of people who want to build on Bitcoin, and there's just no one funding them because everyone's in these other ecosystems.
Yes.
And so I reached out to Boost VC and Tim Draper, who are two early investors of ours, of Fold actually way back in 2015. And Adam of Boost was actually one of the first angels in Coinbase. And I said, hey guys, what if we go backward to go forward? Like, what if we actually focus on a Bitcoin accelerator rather than decentralized science or decentralized social or all these other kind of like fringe Web3 things?
Okay.
They got excited. And the only concern was, will there be enough teams? So anyway, we just closed the applications.
How many did you get?
125. They are stellar. It is very strong. Fun fact, I've heard this from other accelerators, but the last few that came screeching in right before the deadline, most of those were the best applications. And so we're stoked. So we're going to be going through interviews right now. But if you are interested and you didn't slide in, the site is bitcoinfi.network. You can also just hit me up on Twitter at Luongo. I'm happy to look at an application, and I'm not saying we can slide you in, but we'll talk.
Put the link in the comments. But what do you hope to see out of that accelerator? What do you want to see?
Yeah. So what I want to see is all of the ideas we've discarded over the years. All of the I'm going to replace Uber.
Yeah.
I'm going to replace, all of these like, capital B blockchain ideas. I want to see them on Bitcoin.
Okay.
And I want to see the same sorts of infrastructure that Ethereum and Solana have built. And I want to see that for Bitcoin. So I think those are kind of the two things that I'm interested in, like really audacious stuff that a lot of founders ended up backing away from because it was too big. Yeah. And then just making the experience as easy for Bitcoin as it is for these other chains.
Awesome. Sounds awesome. Matt, thank you so much for joining me today. If the listeners want to go and connect with you and find out more about Thesis, where can they do that?
Thesis.co is our site, or of course, again, hit me up on Twitter at MHLonger.
I will put all the links in the comments. Thank you so much for joining me today. And to our listeners, peace, love, and prosperity. And we'll catch you in the next one. Cheers. Built his path in shadows, quiet and deep, till the bankers came with chains, not a word to speak. Whisper lies, hold the keys, turning dreams to paper, please. He's lost in numbers, bound in their cage, but he feels the surge. It's the start of rage. Plug it into the waters where freedom lies. In the
his vision and it scared them blind. A world without them, it broke their minds. They tried to bury him under debt and fear, but he found a signal so sharp and clear. Now he's slipping through their walls, a ghost in code, he won't fall. They can't catch what they can't see. He's the glitch, the data key. Plugging into the wires where freedom lies. In electric streams beneath their ties, breaks the mold, shatters the lock. He's escaping the grasp of the banker's stock. Now he's slipping through their walls, a ghost in code, he won't fall. They can't catch what they can't see. He's the glitch, the data key. Plugging into the wires where freedom lies. In electric streams beneath their ties, breaks the mold, shatters the lock. He's escaping the grasp of the banker's stock. He's more than numbers, more than their chains. With every pulse he cuts the reins. Now he's the glitch, the ghost they dread, living outside the lines they've bled. Plugging into the wires where freedom lies. In electric streams beneath their ties, breaks the mold, shatters the lock. It's escaping the grip of the banker's clock. He's the glitch in the system, free in the fray. The boy who escaped, a spark in the gray. Outside the walls, outside their plan, building a world where he can stand.